So speaking of statistics, for example, it is estimated that 14.3% of Indians are entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Compared to 22.4% of Bumiputra and 23.2% of Chinese. But most enterprises, there were, for example, they say from 2005 to 13, there were 37,896 Malaysian Indian companies deemed as active in the register of companies. 91% of which are micro businesses. 91%. So on the scale of large listed companies, for example, Malaysian Indian ownership of shares is only 1.5 to 1.6% in the past decade. So based on your experience, right, how do we bring Indians into the SME in a bigger way?
The first thing that we have to sort of consider is, are these businesses qualified enough to go into SME? And if there is an assessment being done, who's doing it? So that has to be looked at. There has to be some form of metrics to decide, okay, out of 91% of all these businesses, how many of them are actually qualified enough for us to push into the SME sector? Now, number two, there has to be an interest from these businesses to make that jump or leap. All right, so we just can't go and say, hey, the auntie selling the nasi lemak there for so many years she's been there. Oh, now we want to help you go into the SME sector. So, of course, for them, they don't get that lingo all the time, because you're talking about micro businesses. What do you think micro businesses do? They are very home-oriented.
Yeah, freelancers, gig economy.
They probably can do it in their free time, and their mode of communication is in their mother tongue, or even, I think at best also they may speak a bit of English and Malay because they have to communicate. So now, when you talk about moving into the SME or elevating them into that particular segment, what are the kinds of initiatives that we have, and who's actually involved in all these areas? Because again, like what I talked about earlier, right, putting an integrated solution and then looking at, again, creating that pipeline of movement from the micro business segment into SME. Now, if we even look at microfinancing right now, the ease of obtaining microfinance for you to maybe amp up your business and go into the SME sector, is that accessible enough? So who's asking all these questions?
We have seen cases in the Malay community recently of Chili Paste as well that has gone very big, right, making millions and all that. We've seen success stories. Perhaps the answer is that agencies should be created to empower these people with the skills they need. For example, I'll give you another example. Recently in social media, there was these guys who produced this movie. It's a Tamil movie, local Tamil movie. And nobody went to see.
Okay.
Right? So the question is not whether or not the movie was good enough to be viewed. Was that perhaps there may not have been enough marketing, enough promotion, and all this. So shouldn't we then, to remove them from the micro business sector into small and medium businesses, equip them with the necessary skills to actually make that leap? Of course, I agree with you, not all businesses are fit for this.
Correct.
But there are gems within this pool. I mean, 91%, there must be a few gems there that we can elevate.
Sure. I mean, I don't disagree with you, but here's a question. So you talked about the paste, that you all use at home. You talk about sambal nyet.
Sambal nyet, that's the thing.
Sambal nyet. And then we've got babas, right?
Yes, we do.
So I'm just saying hindsight. If we go down that anecdotal lane, this is my issue.
Okay.
There's always examples that we can portray. Now, to be more specific and to look at, what can we do and how can we do it. So these are questions, like I said, someone has to be sitting down and looking at those mechanisms. When I talk about mechanisms, it's not just something that we do one-off. It's like, okay, for this year, we're going to do it. We're going to showcase and announce it to the public. It becomes a gimmick or a campaign, and then done. There's no sustainability to it. There's no continuity to it. So you've got to look at, again, re-look back at the resources that we have. It's just plug and play. You got to go back to the basics of what are the kinds of services that are provided by the government for all these different segments, right? Whether you're talking about the micro businesses, you have SME Bank.
Yes.
You have SME Bank. You have got other corporacies that are there. So utilizing the kinds of services that they already have, plugging into so you got to think about how you basically assemble a computer. the way you assemble a computer is different depending on what is the functionality of the computer itself. That's the same kind of concept or thinking that you apply into this kind of challenges. So if you're going to assemble a set of solutions for micro businesses to move up into SME, you don't go and launch something that is new. You just basically take the stuff that you already have, put it all together, and then basically once you have the whole system ready from back end to front end, you start running it. Once you have the system running long enough and you have got products to showcase, then you launch something and tell the people, okay, we are celebrating these 100 entrepreneurs as our initiative that we kickstarted, some time back. My only qualm with people announcing stuff before they do anything is they don't walk the talk, and most of the time when you really look at these initiatives, in Malaysia, we like to say short sendiri lah.
Yes.
We launch something, okay, this one we can say that we are successful after 5 years, but what happens after 5 years?
Yeah.
Don't tell me after 5 years there's no poor people there, or businesses. Everyone is going to be a businessman, or everyone's going to achieve the kind of business market accessibility that we want. So when you talk about market accessibility today, it's so easy to get into the free market.
Yes.
You get on TikTok, you're automatically in the free market.
Free market. Yeah.
You get on Facebook, you get on Instagram. The moment you start marketing your product, you are already in the free market.
Yes.
Because you got to understand one thing, nothing today is novel enough for us to claim that it's new. We are trying to find, and I don't really know why people do this, they try to find the differentiator.
The disruptor.
Yeah. So you don't really need to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not about differentiating stuff. It's about improving your customer service. It's about improving your audience engagement. It's improving the experience for people. And you look at some of the best companies today in the world. The top company that everyone loves, and I think probably at least 80% of KLites would subscribe to, is Apple.
Of course.
You have the iPhone regardless of what the price is. You have the Apple Watch. You have all their products, their sets of merchandise, right? Now, what are they doing differently? Every year is the same phone.
Same phone. Yeah.
But people still go crazy because it's about the experience. It's about the Apple experience. It's about having, the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So you are part of a clan. You have a cult following of this
Which is
brand,
marketing, right?
It's and they started this decades ago. So when Steve Jobs started this, eventually it became a culture. So if you listen to Simon Sinek, he tells you this story about a training session that he did with Apple and Microsoft. They were direct competitors. They are still direct competitors. Apple is so focused on creating the next thing for the future, meaning that they're not looking at a product. They're looking at what is a challenge that I'm solving of the future. So today your Apple Watch can tell you your heartbeat. Why did they do that? Because their focus was on health. How can we make health a bit more accessible for the common man who's using our product? The next thing you know, it becomes a wave and every company, decides to come up with.
But then that sort of ties back to what I was saying. Basically, sometimes I think people need to be educated on these skills. Then only will they be able to implement that on the products that they have.
Correct.
Because otherwise, or their business plans. So I'm just thinking that, but I guess you're right in the sense that we have to only use the resources that we have.
Yeah.
But I think Malaysia, as a government, we need to do better.
Of course. I mean, not just as government, as Malaysians generally, everyone basically has that mindset, right? There's nobody we know that wakes up thinking that, okay lah, probably there are a certain segment of the community that feel that, okay, you know what, I'm fine where I am. I don't need to do much because I'm comfortable, But I'm quite sure if you're running a company, if you're head of an organization, if you're, just say you as now, the person who coordinates this podcast, you've always got to think about evolving. You've always got to think about growing, morphing yourself into something better. And that is what every administration has at the back of their head, whether they like it or not. Because you know why? When you come into government, being the prime minister, you will be judged for the things that you do. All right. Now, you see, whether you like him or not lah, okay, Najib had two parts of the story. Today you see his buildings up, okay. Whether you like those buildings or you find it to be a sight for sore eyes.
No, I like it. It's a tall building.
Yeah, but people will still say that's Najib.
Yeah.
You see the MRT, that's Najib. You see TRX, today TRX is a craze. Every influencer is flooding that spot to basically start, promoting themselves, promoting the products there. These were all, whether you like them or not, these were all projects of the Najib administration. So at some point, like what you mentioned, we have to start talking about, improving ourselves and doing things. But the question is, how much can we do and how soon can we do it? Because when you look at time, you look at costs, and you look at the quality of things that you need to do, I think these are not unknown stuff. If you talk about a roadmap, people want to see the products of the roadmap. So balancing all this stuff, and understanding the needs, the importance, when to do what, and how to actually showcase this. So there is a significant amount of tasks. If you look at the work task schedule of PMO right now, you probably have like 100 tabs of your Excel open.